So, I came across Steve Cantwell's experience with Salvia on a podcast where he lived an alternate life for 8 years in Texas. He was in Alaska on a Salvia trip that lasted about 45 seconds. Meanwhile, in the hunt for such experiences, I came across a gentleman on Reddit who shared his Salvia trip at 19, where he lived an alternate life for 30 years. He was kind enough to share the complete trip report, which I have shared below. This isn't one I've made an actual trip report on, but I've mentioned it in some comments recently. People asking about parallel lives. This is an older experience now that I had many years ago. It had always been a pretty personal thing to me now, but it's definitely a parallel life experience. I was 19 when it happened. I'd gotten into this habit of tripping with mirrors at the time, so I was in my bathroom standing in front of the sink. I had some really bad experiences prior, and honestly, my plan was to try to bolt if shit got too strange. I remember with this one in particular, it seemed like nothing was happening, everything was normal. I leaned in closer to the mirror, and the pupil in one of my eyes started growing, and it didn't stop. It happened fast, there was no escaping it. It pulled me in like a black hole. I remember being stretched into a line, then smashed into a dot, then blinked out into darkness. That's all I really have going into it. That blink into darkness faded back out as an opening of my eyes, but I was a different person, living a whole entire different life, on a whole different world. I was now a dude in my 30s, waking up from some kind of drug overdose. It was very intense on that end of it because I had still strong memories of this life that you and I are in now. It took me about a year of their time because I was trying to reorient myself to that reality. I couldn't even talk right for a little because I was trying to talk like we do. Everybody thought that I had brain damage. I can relate to that one. I'm fucking retarded. In that year, I went to sleep every night expecting to wake up back here in my bathroom. I could not accept that it was real, but it just wasn't going away. I could count the time down to a second. The memories of this life eventually began to fade, though. I didn't have all the little details anymore to try and make sense of it to others. Within that life, I also had some pretty big responsibilities that I had to focus on. I had a family and a house. The whole overdose thing cost me a job, but we were able to turn things around once I put my past behind me. You have to understand that this was all backwards for me. While I was there, my experience was that I had done a drug and experienced years of another life, hours. And within that life, I did a drug that brought me back. Basically, exactly what I'm doing right now. And trying to explain this is what I was doing over there too. When you are in one of these parallels like this, no matter which direction you are heading, they become your base reality for the experience. I was questioning our world, not theirs. Theirs was my actual reality for the time being. So about 30 years later, I was an old man. My kids were grown up and moved out. One of them had asked me to look for something in the attic. I went up there and found a box that was very out of place. In it were things from this life that we are in now. It was the biggest mindfuck I think I've ever experienced in any life. In that box, though, was a pipe and the same drug I had overdosed on. Same bowl, actually. It was a little burned, but still had a few tokes left. I was just so confused and felt like I was finally close to an answer. So I hit it one more time and closed my eyes. And when I opened them again, I was standing in my bathroom, 19, looking in the mirror. And just like the first transition, I was all fucked up about it. I still had to reorient, but this was Salvia, so there was no waking up from an overdose. It was like 30 years of whatever the hell that was just crammed into my head all of a sudden.